Hello everyone. I thought that I would share a video with you tonight instead of being on live. This week, of course, is the week that I've got my 2 launch events, so it's not too late to register yet. Well, it kind of is, but if you'd like to attend one of these events, please let me know. So I've got Friday the 17th of May, which is this Friday at 7:30, or this Saturday at 1:30. So I need to know today if you would like to attend one of these. So given that I've got a little bit more of a busy week this week, I thought that I would share a video with you using some new products. So let me show you the card I'm going to make first. And this one is a really nice easy one. So I have used some Designer Series paper, which I'll show you in the catalogue in a moment, and one of the bundles as well. So the Designer Series paper in this bundle are actually from different collections. So the Designer Series paper is called Thoughtful Journey, which you can find on page 47. And this paper is absolutely amazing. Let me hold it up a little bit higher so you can see that. So those papers are amazing, and the paper does all the hard work. Now with this bundle, I actually only have got the paper so far because I knew that I could create some really beautiful cards using that. The stamp set that I've used is called Unbounded Love, which is from a different suite or different collection, which you'll find on page 54 and 55. With this collection, I've got the embellishments, I've got the Designer Series paper, I've also got the glimmer paper but haven't used that yet, and I've got the Unbounded Love stamp set and dies, which are those ones there. As yet I haven't got the Flowers of Beauty bundle. I might get that, I'm just going to see, but I really love the sentiment and all the different frames and options you have with this particular bundle, which is called Unbounded Love. So let me show you the stamp set first, which is this one here. The fonts are really nice, and it's got a lovely selection of sentiments in it. Everything from happy birthday, sympathy, may all your wishes come true, love, peace, best of luck, hope. So there's all sorts of different ones in this with a set of dies, which are the ones down the bottom. So all of these ones down here. So these are really lovely. You can layer your dies to create some really interesting effects. So this is the die that I've used, and all of these will fit through the mini machine as well, which is really nice. So that's the stamp set, the dies and the paper. So let me make a start on this card. You don't need too much for this one. I've got a half sheet of crumb cake. I've got a piece of white, which I actually think is the wrong size for the inside, but it's just nothing special on the inside. It's just a piece of white. But the one I grabbed out of the basket is a little bit small, so I'll finish the inside of this card later. I've also got a piece of white cardstock, which measures 8 centimeters by 12.5, and I've got the other piece, or the other section of this Designer Series paper, which matches up just there like that. This is 7.5 by 12 centimeters, so you can make that any size that you like. I've got my piece of cut of white to stamp the sentiment on, and I've also got here one of my favorite type of threads to use, which is linen thread. So it does have that very natural look to it, and it does work really well with this. Now, as you can see, the papers, they actually don't have any crumb cake. Crumb cake is one of those neutral colors that you can use pretty much on anything. Okay, so let's get started. This is a really, really simple card to put together, so it's not going to take long. As I mentioned, with this one, the Designer Series paper does all the work for you, which is why it needs to be one of your best friends when it comes to your crafting. Okay, so I do need a couple of pieces of linen thread. So I'm going to be tying the bow separately. And I normally would cut this to length, but I haven't today. So just a quick measure across. Just mark where you need to cut. And I'll cut that off. I am going to use a couple of pieces of sticky tape just to secure this at the back. Because sticky tape, honestly, is one of the easiest things to use to secure your ribbons and threads. Okay, so that's going to sit just there. This is now going to be put onto my piece of the white, and I'm going to be using some dimensionals for this bit. So I've just got the minis here, which I'm finding more and more that I am using the minis. I think they are just a perfect size. And you can spread them around just a little bit more than perhaps what you would if you were using the standard size ones. Okay, and again, I am using the Take Your Pick tool. So just dabbing into the little paper backings and flicking those off, which is the quickest way to do that. Okay, and then lining this up to center it, just making sure the top and the two sides are level and the rest will just fall into place nicely. As I mentioned, this is a really, really quick card to do. So this is going to be stuck onto the front, and I'm going to be using, normally would use Stampin' Seal, but just in case I get this on crooked, I'm going to use a bit of Tombow so I can wiggle it around just to straighten it up if I need to once I get it on, because I made a bunch of cards yesterday, including this one, and I really struggled to stick anything down straight. It looks okay. So that is the bulk of the card done. As I mentioned, this is a nice, quick and easy card to do. Right, I've got a little bit of stamping to do. So there's my die that's going to sit about there. And I do need a sentiment, which that one I used, You've Got This. I think I'm going to make this one a Feel Better Soon, because it's coming into that time of the year again where there's colds and flus and different bugs going around. So it's always nice to have a Feel Better Soon type card on hand. Okay, so I'll grab a block. And the ink I'm using is Misty Moonlight, which works really beautifully because it's got some of those tones in this paper. So I'm going to ink up my stamp. And all I'm doing is centering that, or roughly centering that, just so then I can cut it out using the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, put the ink pad away. I'm just going to use a bit of paper towel, get rid of that ink there so it doesn't transfer onto anything. And I'm going to cut this out. As I mentioned, these dies do fit through the mini machine. And so the sandwich I'm using with this is plate number 1 and 2 of the clear cutting plates, which are 2 number 2s. I am going to be staggering these plates, which I show you each time, but I've got about a sort of finger width at the top, and then when I put the dies on, the second one is going to be level with the white. That way when it feeds through this machine, it's going to feed through and catch much easier. So I've got my stamped sentiment there. I do have some post-it notes on hand so that I can stick this in place really well. And I want to center that and make sure that is fairly straight. So when you're lining things up to cut out, do take your time with it and just make sure you're happy with where it's going. And so I'm using a little bit of pressure to give that post-it note a really good rub. You can keep using your post-it notes until they get to the point where they're not very sticky. Then just toss them out and get get new ones. So yeah, so I go through quite a few of these smaller ones, but it just makes it so much easier to line everything up and hold your dies in place before they go through the cut and emboss machine. Okay, the mini one is just really good to use for videos and Facebook Lives. And of course, the added feature is they do fold up really beautifully, nice and compact for storage. Okay, so I'll move those aside. When you're peeling up your Post-it note, just be a little bit gentle. You don't want to take any of that ink or a bit of cardstock with you. I'll put the die back on the magnetic sheet, and there you have your Feel Better Soon. So finishing off this card, I am going to be using a couple of dimensionals behind this one as well. And same as before, I'm using the minis. And I'm not going to put one too close to this side because, as you can see, I've got part of the frame that goes over the top of the edge of the paper. So, and of course, I've got skill like that. I put one on the wrong end. There I was being clever and checking, but I didn't check well enough. Okay, so that one just peeled up quite easily. And Feel Better Soon. So that's going to sit directly over the linen thread. The last thing to do with this card, of course, other than getting the right size piece of cardstock for the inside, is the linen thread. Being on rolls, you do get a bit of curling. So my recommendation with the baker's twine and also the linen thread, so what I'm using, linen thread and the baker's twine, which I use a fair bit, pinch between your thumb and your index finger and just a bit of pressure, and that is going to straighten out your bit of thread or twine. That way when you go to tie your bow, it's actually really easy to tie. You're not dealing with your threads trying to curl up. I'm going to trim my ends, and then that is going to go onto the front with a glue dot. As I mentioned a few other times, with using the linen thread or the baker's twine, it is quite fine. So with your glue dot, which there is one, I don't know how well you can see, there's one right there. I'm going to kind of fold that up a little bit, almost to half the size, before I put it on, just so there is less chance of that glue dot sticking to the envelope. And then there is the finished card. A super simple card to make. You can use both halves of the same piece of designer series paper. They're just going to look slightly different, but I think for a card to encourage someone or a Feel Better Soon, this would be fabulous. For a sympathy card as well, you just need to use a slightly bigger frame, but it would still work beautifully well. So that is what I've got for you for this card. As I mentioned, it's quite a simple one, and I'm going to be sharing some more samples with you very soon using these papers because they are just too good not to use. So just once again, final reminder, please let me know today if you would like to attend the catalogue launch on Friday night or Saturday afternoon, which is this week. So thank you for joining me. Thursday night will be the free class, the shoe card class that I normally do. I'm going to see how I go for time, but I might end up posting a video for that one too. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how simple it is to make a card using the Thoughtful Journey Designer Series papers and Unbounded Love bundle. Thanks again everyone. Bye bye.